Hey, you listen to Wrestling Up on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
Lot of setup for SummerSlam happening. Let's just start off with the Judgment Day, the entirety of Raw. We open up. Rhea Ripley sets her sights on Liv Morgan and on the Women's World Championship.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, she definitely set up her mission statement that she wants her title back. She seemed to, in quotation marks, forgive Dominic for what he's been doing. But Dominic definitely has said things that may have made her think otherwise or, like, not shown full loyalty. Because he basically he did the one thing that you shouldn't do to Rhea Ripley. He basically acted like he was her boss.
It was an interesting dynamic, right, throughout the whole episode. The episode was basically Mami's home. And yeah, he's been, to be fair, I don't think those were words out of his own mouth. He was kind of set up to fail, which I think is also part of this whole piece coming together.
Yeah, I I do think everything does come to a head at SummerSlam, and he'll make his the ultimate decision then, and I think he will choose Liv.
Yeah, I feel like all of the Judgment Day is going to be forced to pick, right? Do they want Rhea? Did they like Liv? You look at the tag team champions. Liv got them their titles back.
Hmm.
That's something that Rhea didn't really care about their matches. Wasn't a big help when they were doing tag team title kind of stuff. Um, Damien's business will end up getting to. Um, Dominic's been apologizing left, right, and center for stuff that was arguably not his fault. And Carlito's just Carlito. Rhea might not have as many allies in the Judgment Day as she seems to think.
Yeah, I I can totally see the next pay-per-view, which I think is Bad Blood after SummerSlam.
Mhm.
No, wait, it's not Bad Blood. It's Berlin.
Yeah.
Um, I could totally see that being a tag team match with uh, Liv and Dom versus Damien and Rhea. I could see that because I think after the decision is made and you have the celebration with the new quotation mark Judgment Day, I could see Finn costing uh, Damien his championship at in his match against Gunther, and then that would that would split him out of the group because obviously he got screwed over by a member of the group, which basically he's 99% of the group anyway. Because he's basically everything he's doing right now is everything face like. He just happens to be in a heel group.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest, like, seeing where the dividing line is. You've got Rhea Ripley returning to go up against a heel Liv Morgan. You've got Damian Priest going up against a very heel after this week's Raw, Gunther. They're practically, tweeners at best, pretty much just faces at this point. Um, Dominic's always going to be sleazy. Liv Morgan's the villain in the story, and the rest of Judgment Day, they did steal away the tag titles. Carlito is Carlito.
Yeah. Um, you could make an argument that technically Dominic was abused and had Stockholm syndrome in his position in within the Judgment Day. But that's still a very long stretch because eventually it does come down to which woman is he going to pick. And it's ultimately going to be the one that's single. It's going to be the one that didn't get married while they were gone on injury. Um, so I'm loving what they're doing. The whole blurred lines and stuff. But it's everything comes ahead at SummerSlam because that's where this will take off, and I do think that there will be a women's cell match at Bad Blood involving um, Liv and Rhea.
Mhm. I think this is definitely a multi pay per view storyline. If we look at the fabric of Raw, it is built on top of the Judgment Day. So with that shuffling and changing and moving into its next phase, it's definitely something that's not happening, you know, overnight. We're not going to snap our fingers and the story's at phase 10. We're going to move, we're going to evolve, and we're slowly going to figure out where we are. And you kind of mentioned it with Damian Priest stuff, because he's got to deal with a most cocky Walter, or Gunther, sorry.
Yeah, Gunther held the Intercontinental Championship for 600 some odd days. I think he has the right to be cocky. Um, and I do think it's another element to shift Damien's alignment. That because now he's defending his own honor rather than just this is the next guy up.
Yeah, we had Gunther
Um,
be very personal in his promo that he cut, and I think that was, as you say, very on purpose.
and all in the while, Braun Strowman just continues to get buried. Um, I think maybe he should have been in the Wyatt Six. I can get why he's not, because he's not an original member of the Wyatt family. And I guess you can always play that angle up and bring him in later if you need to, but he has not gone anywhere since he returned. Which again makes me miss Ricochet because I really liked Ricochet and Braun as a tag team before Braun got hurt.
Yeah, it would work well if Ricochet was still around. I think, as you say, Braun has sort of been used to build stories more than be used as a story. You know, he's been a bit of a foil for the Judgment Day, but a foil that has been beaten a fair bit, including by Damian Priest on Raw, um, and just sort of cannon fodder around the place. He hasn't quite had a found his footing or been in a solid storyline for Braun Strowman.
Speaking of the Wyatt Six, I guess we should talk about that.
Yeah, talking about groups and the Wyatt Six and everything. Uh, the expected happened with Chad Gable. You know, he tried to team back up with the Alpha Academy, and they said that ain't happening, and he found himself some different friends.
Yeah, he has a new family. Um, he made the mistake of calling out. Um, I guess I guess technically we have to refer to them as separate entities until proven otherwise. He called out Bo Dallas.
Well, as Chad Gable told me this week, Uncle Howdy is Bo Dallas.
Yeah, the same way that Bray Wyatt was the Fiend. It's just another personality that takes over. But yeah, I I enjoyed seeing the three of them together. I think it's a perfect match made in heaven. In fact, I think it should have been done maybe a year ago. Um, but it is what it is. Now maybe Chad has the muscle he needs to actually go after and accomplish his goals. Um, which is the Intercontinental Championship at this point, which he's not allowed to a title shot right now.
Yeah,
Um,
for me, it's trying to like obviously Chad Gable's motives are clear. The Wyatt Six are targeting him. He wants to try and stop that, figure it all out. Why are the Wyatt Six going after Chad? We saw Bo Dallas saying things like, "This is the Chad I wanted to see," um, and eventually, I'm going to assume that this will lead to an in-ring clash between some members of the group. And I don't know. I don't know why the Wyatt Six specifically are taking out Chad or how we're going to get from where we are, right? The Creed brothers really did just sign up for a murder at this point because I'm assuming they ain't going over the Wyatt Six for in ring debut.
yeah, yeah, that is a big question mark. Um, it could be just as simple as they are they're trying to change some of the characters into other in showing that like their weaknesses and stuff. Um, much in the same way that the Fiend character changed anybody you worked with there for a while. Um, most notably Seth Rollins. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. But I also want to talk about the VHS tape,
Mhm. The Eric
which was
Rowan tape.
apparently delivered on the Pat McAfee show this this week, not in a creepy segment that we've been getting used to.
And he held on to it because he doesn't know
Yep,
how a VCR works.
yep. Um, that promo. Oh my goodness. Um, that was 3 minutes. Realism, 30 seconds character. Uh, Eric Rowan. You have to feel for the guy. He was everything he said was 100% true. Nobody cared about him when he left. When he was separated from the Wyatt family, it wasn't long after that he was released, and then he goes to work with the other company, to work with his brother, and his brother dies, and that devastates him. And he's finally getting over it. He's starting to work again, and then Bray dies, and I could see how that would destroy a man. And so yeah, it was a powerful segment, and I'm looking forward to seeing it because I said it before. I loved when they split him off from it originally, and they were doing that genius gimmick on main event, and the chemistry he had with Paige. I loved that, and I was really looking forward to it. And then they squashed it completely with the stairs match, the stairs match, which is one of the worst matches of all time.
There's no such thing as a good stairs match.
It's only happened once. That's why.
Oh for
Um,
1.
yeah, and so yeah, I'm interested in seeing what the other characters will say. Um, when it's their turn to shine. I definitely am interested in Nikki Cross because I think she's got some powerful stuff to say too. Um, considering how much every character that she's gotten, people destroy, whether it was something she made herself or not. Um, and I'm interested in seeing how they portray that. But and we're starting to get more physical in the ring. You had Bo Dallas going absolutely Joker like, laughing at Gable and the Creeds trying to attack him before the Wyatt Six came out to save him and chased them off. I don't know. I just am excited, still cautious because it can still go wonky, but I'm excited for the character reveals and the eventual wrestling. Maybe it is the Wyatt Six because they're going to count both Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy as separate entities, and Bo will wrestle, and Wyatt will just be a character, and Uncle Howdy will just be a character.
Maybe. I'm with you. Cautiously excited. I think is how I would describe the Wyatt Six stuff right now. Bring, bring, boo-loo-loo-loo-loo-loo-loo-loo. That's my horrible interpretation of a phone going off. Just go with it. Do 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 do. Oh, what's that? My phone's going off. What time is it?
It's Tiffy time!
Edgeback Wrestling got up on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Apologies for that lovely segue there. But
By the way, that would have been last week's theme had not been for the retirement announcement.
That's fair enough. John Cena does jump up the priority list, but let's talk about Tiffy. Let's talk about the SmackDown Women's Division. Obviously, it is Bayley versus Nia Jax at SummerSlam, but, you know, Tiffy's there stirring the pot.
I don't think Tiffy thought it through. You know the whole meme from the Meet the Robinsons with the T-Rex where he goes, I have short arms and a large head. I don't think this plan was very well thought out.
Hmm.
That was Tiffy. Because if she won the championship there, she has to defend it against Nia Jax. I think that would be the last thing she would actually want.
Yeah, surely the logic here is to cash in after SummerSlam.
Maybe a couple months down the road. Especially if Nia Jax ends up winning the dang thing. Uh, but yeah, it is. It was interesting. I, I've I have loved everything that Nia has done since she's come back. She basically put Bayley to the fire, which is not something that you can really do most of the time. Bayley is a solid character usually. She's she's amazing in the ring. Of the four horsemen, she's the best in ring. Um, you can make an argument for Charlotte because Charlotte is special, but for me, it's Bayley 1, Charlotte 1A, essentially in that regard. But I just I loved everything except I don't like the teasing the cash in because of the logic fallacy. Because Tiffany Stratton needs to be smarter about her cash in. Because yeah, you could have cashed in on Bayley, become champion, but then you have Nia Jax staring you down as your next opponent because she's guaranteed that title match.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one with Tiffany. As much as I could see her holding this briefcase for many months, 9 months down the line, I could also see her using it sooner rather than later. I personally hope that she'll hold on to it, think about it, and choose the perfect opportunity where it all makes sense and all the stars align. But always cautiously worried that the trigger will just get pulled way too early when it comes to a cash in.
Yeah, well, especially since the history of that particular briefcase
Mm.
doesn't give you a cause for to be excited for that. Because if we go past SummerSlam, it'll just be the second time in that briefcase's history that we will go past SummerSlam with it. And that's the measuring stick right now. Does it make it past SummerSlam? Yes? No?
Yeah, and as you say, logically, if she doesn't want to get beat up on by Nia Jax, it should make it past SummerSlam.
Yep. The only way it does it is if it's cashed in at SummerSlam and it's because Bayley somehow retained but is extremely injured and is just absolutely destroyed after the match by Nia. Because then it makes sense. It's a heel cashing it in at a weakest moment.
Yeah, I could see it. And then looking at the SmackDown side of things and looking at SummerSlam matchups, we got ourselves what we expected. United States title, it is on the line.
Not technically not yet confirmed.
Yeah.
We because it does require one thing that has not happened, and my guess is Paul will refuse, only to be knocked out and then forced to sign. Kind of like back to the old days when Austin had a contract that had to be signed by by Vince, I think it was. Vince got knocked out and he just wrote with his hand. I don't know. It's just I think it's going to be a couple weeks before we get that contract signed. Yes, this is the match we're getting, but it's not set in stone, and I think they're going to play for that for a couple weeks towards eventually maybe LA Knight finally grinding Logan Paul's gears enough that he finally says, "Fuck, I'm going to do it."
Yeah, it's Paul's a busy guy. He's too busy suing YouTubers and doing other things. Um,
And
but
being
yeah,
banned from the Japanese
tour.
trip.
Yeah, look, I said
We
I
all know
didn't like the
why.
guy.
We all know why. We don't. Uh, it's just. It's funny how they came up with a reason for it. We all know the real reason. That's it.
Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we get there. I do think it is a pretty straight road. We got where we are. We've got our destination. We just got to drive down the road, pretty much. But talking about potentially straight roads and potential SummerSlam matchups that are just a week away from being confirmed, Cody Rhodes, Solo Sikoa, are we actually going to get the match?
Pretty likely. Um, I I think it's I think it's pretty much I think it's what needs to happen because I think at the end of that match it's going to be when Roman returns. If Roman doesn't, it'll be when Jimmy does. And where it's
Someone's
going to be,
returning.
yeah, somebody in the bloodline is returning. It could be multiple returns leading up to the big one. But I think that match has to happen. I think we continued more with the teases towards Orton challenging Cody down the road. Because I think at some point Randy's going to get tired of getting all the beatings for Cody. And he also wants that title because he's at 14 championships. He's close to the 16 title reigns. He might want a 15th.
Yeah, especially with John Cena's retirement tour on the horizon as well. Yeah, I do think Cody versus Orton happens at some point. Don't know exactly when, but I do think it happens. And I'm with you. I think this is leading to Jimmy or Roman, somebody coming back to not quite even the odds, but to be on Team Cody. And my only question is whether it happens prior to the match or during. Preferably, for me at least, it would happen at SummerSlam itself. I know there is word going around that potentially Reigns might be gearing up to come in prior to SummerSlam. I just think the impact hits harder if it's during the pay-per-view.
Yeah, having it at a random SmackDown is not going to have the same effect as it would be at a SummerSlam. I really think it needs to be... What I think needs to happen is Cody barely survives solo. He wins the match. The Hounds come after him. Jay comes out, tries to help Cody because they still have that connection. Then Jimmy returns. They're still outnumbered. And then you hear the music. And Roman comes out. The crowd goes nuts. And that's what gives them the advantage, because at this point, it would be 4v4 at that point. Obviously, there's still the fifth person waiting in the wings, but that would be the moment that you could end the pay-per-view on, is Roman standing over Solo.
Makes sense to me. Book it, lock it in, ready to go. We've only got about a minute left. Is there anything you want to mention before we head on out?
Well, we're still not set in our way for McIntyre versus Punk.
That's true.
Happening at SummerSlam, because Drew McIntyre simply would not apologize for attacking referees, so much so that he attacked them again.
Real loose cannon, that guy.
Yep, and Pierce has extended the suspension. I personally, I kind of like the idea of maybe putting that match off. We expected at SummerSlam, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if we just made the one matchup happen at Bad Blood and be in the cell, and instead we get Punk versus Rollins at SummerSlam? Maybe as a proof of concept that Punk won't break from a singles match.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a thought I just had. It's like, because I could see them maybe being that suspension being the reason why we don't have the match at SummerSlam that we've been expecting. So we get the other match we were expecting and didn't get.
There will be some combination of Drew, of Seth, and of Punk happening at SummerSlam, and I'm sure there's going to be some combination between those three guys from now pretty much all the way up till next year, because I think they all have interlocking feuds and different combinations, and everything will shake out as it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we're going to go with the with Punk versus McIntyre, make Rollins the referee. Rollins hates both of them. It'd be a fair situation, and then you could spin off into Punk Rollins if somehow Drew wins the match.
Why not? Lock it in. Well, that's all we got time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye-bye.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D Upper, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D Upper, our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling RND Up. And we will catch you next week.